Am I the only one who thinks it's weird that Sonic Team never actually made a Sonic game for the Saturn? While Sonic Team themselves were too busy arguing about Sonic Extreme and developing Nights into Dreams, Sonic R was instead developed by a British studio called Traveller's Tales based in Cheshire. You may know them now as TT Games, the guys who do every fucking LEGO game ever. Jesus Christ, why are there so many LEGO games? One of the final games released for the Saturn, released only a few months before the system's discontinuation in Europe, Sonic R is a racing game. I mean, of course it is. What else do you think the R stands for? Sonic Retirement Home? Seriously, Sega, call me about that one. But is it any good as a Sonic racing game? Is this the Saturn's swan song, or is it just the kind of dying wheeze a rotting corpse would give? Well, let's pop it in and find out.
I would have a reaction for you here, but to be honest, I'm just kind of numb to this.
The music is literally the first thing you notice about this game. I mean, don't get me wrong, as much as other reviewers like to rip on these songs, I honestly don't find them so bad. It's not like the singer can't hold a tune, and they're well composed, they fit okay, but it's a big leap to go from to... Only thing I can really fault these songs on is that they're a bit generic and they don't quite reflect the stages they're in particularly well. Plus, I have to question the relatively druggy lyrics. Enough about music though, let's talk about gameplay. In Sonic R, you have to race around there's only 5 tracks? That's just over 1 cup in Mario Kart 64, what the hell? Even Sonic Drift on the Game Gear had more courses than this, and well, just look at that. It's bad. I don't really want to keep looking at it, to be honest. Unlike in other racing games, Sonic & Co. mostly run around on foot, and this leads to a weird sort of control scheme where you have to hold up on the D-pad or the analog stick if you have that controller to accelerate. But I did say they mostly run on foot. Amy and Eggman seem to be the only ones who have thought of bringing any kind of vehicle to a race. Go figure. So alternatively, you can use the B button to accelerate, and I honestly recommend doing that for all the characters because otherwise you're going to have a hell of a time steering. Every character has a really, really big turning circle, and often pushing as far in the direction you want to go as humanly possible just isn't enough to stop your character bouncing around between walls like a goddamn pinball, or standing in place like a lemon and letting everyone overtake them. And it's not like Sonic R has any kind of conventional braking button that can help you slow down and make those turns easier, you know, like every other racing game ever. Instead, the L and R triggers act to make you lean a la F-Zero, and pressing them both together then lets you brake. And that's if you can even see the turns coming. The PC and Sonic Gems collection port of Sonic R has fixed this issue, but the Saturn has some awful draw distance, especially in the multiplayer. Oftentimes you'll be unable to see a turning until you're halfway into it, and unless you're eyeing up the map every few seconds, you'll be bumping into a lot of walls. At least these courses have stuff for you to do though. As well as placing first in each race, there's 5 Sonic tokens in each stage hidden out of the way and Chaos Emeralds to collect in every stage too. If you grab all of these tokens and then finish in 3rd place or better, you get a chance to unlock an extra character by beating them in a race. But for Chaos Emeralds, you have to place in first or you'll just get this bait and switch. Seriously, game, what the hell? I grabbed that Chaos Emerald, it was right there! Don't tell me I can't have it just because Knuckles fucked me over. I picked up that damn emerald! But reining it back a bit, let's talk about the courses themselves. Resort Island is a good starting point. I mean, it's the typical Green Hill zone of the game. It's nice and sunny, and there aren't really any complicated turns or hard parts around. But one problem we do have is that of the few sections Resort Island has where you can deviate from the main path, only one of them is in any way helpful at all. Right at the beginning here, I can duck through this tunnel here and run through this weird Stonehenge shit, but that's slower than just cutting a corner on the main path and going that way anyway. Near the end, I can go around the top of this hill, but unless I'm grabbing the Sonic token at the top, why would I do that? I can see where it comes out. I can see the path I'm on is the quickest, so what's the point? Thankfully, this is only really an issue for Resort Island. The next stage, Radical City, is actually pretty well designed, I think. If I had to describe the track's overall shape, it's like a figure 8, but it's got some pretty neat elements and a few slightly less obvious shortcuts, like jumping over this gap and then barreling through this barrier instead of taking the right-hand turn. That cuts a huge amount of this track out. It's like you've got alternating paths inside of alternating paths. It's crazy. As for Regal Ruin, that level has a ton of alternating paths as well, but I really like the blue shadows here. It's just such a shame that the GameCube and PC versions removed this. I guess it must be part of the Saturn's lighting engine or something. This is probably one of the easiest levels apart from Resort Island to get the emeralds on, but the tokens will give you a good run for your money. In all honesty though, some of the secret paths are a bit counterintuitive to get to. You sink like a stone in water, but here you have to go across a lake to get to this little tunnel that you wouldn't see unless you're going that way anyway. And Reactive Factory is the final of the normal stages. There's one more, but I'll talk about that in a bit. I find this one to be very interesting. You would have thought a factory stage would be set at nighttime or inside, but instead it seems to be its own little island. Not that that isn't cool or anything, but this stage can be very difficult. Getting the Chaos Emeralds and the tokens is near on impossible in a single race, plus the shortcuts and the main course just seem to melt together into something that looks a bit like puked up spaghetti. But for the most part, I actually quite like it. I mean, I guess the visuals save it. But great track design doesn't matter if most of the characters play like arse. Tails seems like he would be an obvious beginner's choice, but nope, he skids around everywhere and it's nearly impossible to slow down with him. Plus the incessant whirring of his tail sometimes glitches out and plays when it's not meant to. The flight ability is a nice way to bypass any sections with water, but be warned, invisible walls will put a stop to your fun a lot of the time. Knuckles is a little better since he's at least controllable and has this weird glide move, and he only loses a little top speed over Sonic, but Amy and Eggman are just completely useless. Amy is slow as molasses most of the time despite actually driving a car, and although she can go over water without a care in the world, that's not enough to make her not awful. Her only saving grace is this boost you get once in a while, but once it's on you can't turn it off until the time has run out and you can barely steer it. It's like that one time someone pulled out in front of your dad on the motorway and he got really angry and the cops had to be called and there was blood everywhere. And Eggman on the other hand is about the same, but he can turn a little quicker and he has a missile, which doesn't actually do anything to stop its enemies. In fact, half the time it doesn't even hit. When it does, it just kinda punts them even further forward anyway. At least you tried, Eggman, give him a sticker. Sonic's fine. I mean, he's obviously gonna be the fastest, but he has some of the better handling as well, and his double jump almost makes him as competent as getting over the water as the others. But in that case, Knuckles is the only other viable character out of the basic bunch. What's the point of these pricks if we have a clear best character? Oh, and you'd think those unlockable characters would do it better, right? Well, wrong. Metal Sonic's mostly as good as Sonic, but a little faster and he can't turn for dick. Tails doll is useless except for being super duper scary. Metal Knuckles somehow looks more like Knuckles than Knuckles does, and I really don't understand that. But he's actually one of the best characters in the game though, since he's got really good steering and he's got this really insane glide. And Egg Robo is somehow worse than Eggman normally is because he can't float on water. Like, seriously? You took the one good feature of Eggman and removed it? Why would I ever want to play as this chrome dome prick? Final character is only unlocked once you get all the Chaos Emeralds, and it's none other than... wait for it. Michael Jackson. No, it's Super Sonic, you idiots. It's like you've never played a Sonic game before, I mean, seriously. He instantly makes everything to the right of him on the character select screen absolutely fucking pointless. He's got the highest speed and the top handling in the entire game, making this roster even more unbalanced, so I don't understand who at Traveler's Tales thought this would be a good idea. Why not just make this Super Sonic R? Just fill the rest of the character select screen with other Supersonics. Whatever, the best venue for Supersonic would be the final stage, which is unlocked once you place first in the other four. Rainbow Road! I mean Radiant Emerald. If you're playing as Supersonic here, be prepared because you're gonna have to take on Metal Sonic and Metal Knuckles. And I guess these other two guys as well. For the cup, and these two don't make any mistakes, ever, so you've got to be like completely on your A game. Plus, the Europop comes to its climax here. Take it away. did it! Yeah! As the credits roll, we've got a chance to reflect here, and you know, there's a lot to reflect upon. As of November 15th, 2015, I've been making videos on YouTube for 3 years. Well, not counting that 9 months where I did absolutely nothing. It's been good at times, it's been tough at times, I've learned a lot, I've made mistakes, but I'm still kicking, even if it's not quite at the same rate I'm sure people would prefer. So here's a thanks to all you out there for making this possible. Without you guys, I would have probably quit a long time ago and moved on to other things, but now back to your regularly scheduled review. You don't want to hear me being sappy and shit.
So is Sonic R a good game?
Don't get me wrong, it's nowhere near good enough to contend with the likes of Mario Kart or Crash Team Racing, but Sonic R's okay if you've got an hour or so to spare. It's flawed as hell, considering the vast majority of the characters are useless, the music sounds weird with the vocals, even though you can just turn those off in the options easily. I mean, that's what I do usually. The track designs are what mostly makes this one worth playing, and if you do play it, it's a hard decision as to whether or not I'd recommend the Saturn version over the aforementioned PC GameCube port. The draw distance issues are fixed in the latter, and you do get a higher resolution, but for some reason I just love the aesthetics of the Saturn version. Maybe it's the ambient lighting? Who knows? Not me. But what I do know is that that's all I have for today, and if you liked it, you should like, comment, subscribe, do that shit, give me a feedback. I always like to hear what other people think, even if you are totally wrong. I mean, I'll get a good chuckle out of it if that's the case. I've been Pause Break Alex, and goodbye again from Pause Break Reviews.